with another video. Welcome to the night shift. Now, I have to be honest, I was not quite sure if I was going to hop on today, but there is something about this season and keeping all promises to myself as well as the Lord. So, thank you guys for joining us again in the night shift. Again, it's just a season where we are allowing God to truly process us and prune us and shape us into the individuals that we need to be. It is where we fully believe that what is done in the dark will come to the light. That is a principle and a promise that the Lord has given us, and we are banking on that. So I want to hop right to it today. I know that last time we were here, we were really diving into the conversations of our mind and what that looks like and how it impacts us. And kind of where we left off is just where, and if you didn't catch it, go back, look at the other videos, go ahead and check that out because it's something in there for you if this is your season. But one of the things that we left off at, one of the things that we were pondering is where does that come from? Where does that negativity come from? Where does that conversation in your head come from? And one of the things that the Lord revealed is that it comes from a place, a time frame, a period of time, a season where you were burned, somehow burned. And somewhere in your experience of life, every time that you were burned, you picked up this limited belief about yourself. Every time that you were burned, you picked up negativity about yourself and you held on to that and you stored it. And the more and more you did that, the conversations began to replay in your head, right? And the Lord wants to deal with that today. He wants to deal with that today. One of the things, and just thinking about, especially every time that you were burned, God was bringing that up. And one of the things He prompted me to was to ask Him for a fiery furnace experience. To ask Him for a fiery furnace experience. Child, I'm the type where I want it. Let's go ahead and get to it, right? So I'm like, Lord, Lord, I know exactly what you mean, right? Lord, you want me to be able to be put to the test and to still come out like pure gold, right? And I'm thinking that's it. And I just heard just ever so softly, you still missed it. You missed it. And I said, Lord, what did I miss? He said, it's not just the end. Yes, we know the end. We know that they come out. But it's the process that you can't skip. It's the process that you can't. It's not like when you were in school and you were cutting in line, right? Just to get to the beginning. You cannot miss the process. And I had to, because I was going throughout my day and doing all of that. Of course, we get busy, but I promise you, I probably listened to this passage about 10, 15 times back to back in a row. So I could understand, so I could see, so I could break apart this process that God was talking about. And it was crazy to me. So when you think about it, first of all, Nebuchadnezzar made this, somebody else, right, is going to make a statue on your behalf and force you to worship it. That's crazy within itself, that somebody else makes a decision of who you will and will not worship. Crazy enough within itself. So Nebuchadnezzar does this, creates this whole golden statue, and then he calls all the officials. He calls the officials, and this is why it's important not to skip the process, because Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego would have never been there if they were not a part of the officials that were called for. So for everyone that feels like that you have a position of authority, that you have some sort of stature, that you have some sort of influence, that you have some sort of voice, that you have some sort of title or position or anything like that, great. You're in an excellent position to be tested. So do not think because of where you are, do not think because of your name badge, do not think because of your title that you are somehow exempt As a matter of fact, it's quite the opposite. You are in a perfect position to be tested. The officials were called for it. So the first thing that God wants us to look at is the position. The position. Sometimes you could be in the exact position that you need to be, that you are supposed to be in, and you will still be tested. There are no exemptions here from the test. It's how you handle it. It's how you fill in the bubble, how you fill in the blank. But there are no exemptions here. You still will be tested. That's one. Only reason why they were there. They were in the position that they needed to be. The second reason why they were there is because they were in the place that they needed to be. Now, I'm going through this passage and I'm thinking, okay, well, if they are so bold to say, look, I'm not bowing to your statue or your God, I'm not doing that. If they were so bold to do that, if they were provided the information ahead of time, I would dare to think that they wouldn't show up. Now, I don't know that to be fact, but I would dare to think if they were so bold to refuse and say, we will not do this, I would dare to think that had they known before they got there of how they would be tested, that they wouldn't have shown up in the first place. They would have said, nah, we're not coming to worship no statue, right? But they came to the place of the dedication, the place that they were asked, the place that they were summoned to come to. They came to the place. So not only is it you being in a position, but sometimes you are going to be in the place that you need to be, right? To be tested. And a lot of times we have become so comfortable with where we are that we try to avoid the testing. But it's in the testing period. It's in the testing period that Jesus can come and be with us. So they get to the place that they need to be. And of course, Nebuchadnezzar does this whole thing. And, when the music plays and all the, cymbals and all that good stuff, whenever the music plays, whenever you hear the sound, everybody must bow. Everybody must bow and worship. And Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego like, look, we are not about to betray our God for whatever it is you got going on. Sounds good, looks good, and apparently Nebuchadnezzar had to be in a position of higher authority. But regardless of even that, we're not on what you're going. We're not on what you're on. Come on, Mama. So then somebody comes and snitches on them. Shadrach, Meshach, hey, look, they're not doing what you said. And you said if we do not bow and worship, if we don't do this, we will be thrown to the fiery furnace. We'll be thrown to death. So Nebuchadnezzar wants to check it out. And he says, well, bring them to me. And he asked them, is this true? Now, this is something he's already said. If then, right? You guys learned that in school, right? If then, if this happens, then this happens. So he's already said, if they do not bow, they will be thrown. Then they will be thrown to the fiery furnace. But when it came to Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, he comes back and says, is this true? And he gives them a second opportunity to betray God. Sometimes that thing that looks good, sounds good, is what everybody else is doing, what the crowd is doing, how they are doing it. Sometimes you will get multiple opportunities and it may seem like the right thing to do. when it's not God, it's not God. Period. Period. And it seemed like this is the way I heard it. And y'all can read it for yourself. But the way I heard it seemed like to me like Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they were just like, look, no need for you to even repeat yourself. We heard you the first time. Enough said. Right? If they were in today, it would be like, say less. Look, enough said. We heard you the first time. We will not bow down. We want to be clear. Nebuchadnezzar asked him, "Who? I'm going to throw you in the fiery furnace, and what God will save you then?" That, to be clear, we know our God is going to save us, but even if he does not, we still will not worship your God. We still will not betray. So then Nebuchadnezzar, mad, ticked off, all that, you defy me. Not only am I going to order your death, but I'm going to make sure it is 7 times worse than what it would typically be. 7 times worse. He ordered them to make it 7 times hotter than what it would typically be. So sometimes you may come to a situation, you may be in a season where you feel like, man, like not only is this terrible, but this is X times worse than what this person over here would have gotten. But it does not mean that your outcome has to be any different. They can talk about you. They can scandalize your name. They can drag you through the mud. They can make you jump through 50 hoops, but it does not mean that your outcome has to be any different. And I want you guys to take note of what happens next. Because what happens next when Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, when they go, and it blew me, right? It says Nebuchadnezzar got his men of valor, mighty men of valor, right? These weren't some wimps. They weren't some puny dudes. He probably got the best out of the bunch to go ahead and take them because they defied him. But even then, those who even participated, Nebuchadnezzar made the order, but those who even participated in what should have been their death, they were burned up. They were burned up. So do not get to a point where you become bitter, where you become angry, where you become hateful, even for those who seem to want and assist in your demise. There is a part they play in this story as well. Of course, we know how the story ends. That they look and say, wait a minute, you put 3 people in there, but there seems to be 4. Jesus was with them. And here is what the Lord wants us to understand on the other side. That when they came out, not only was the Lord with them, a lot of times we try to avoid trial, we try to avoid tribulation, we try to avoid all of that. And it seems like the Lord has left us. He says he will never leave us and never forsake us. That means even in our fiery furnace seasons, he will never leave us and he will never forsake us. And sometimes we have to go through the process. We have to go through the season But when we come out, we don't have to be charred and burned. We don't have to be bitter. We don't have to be angry. We don't have to have the residue of the furnace on us. Unforgiveness, holding grudges. We do not have to have the residue of the furnace on us. So when it comes to thoughts, negativity, being our own worst enemy, it's important to captivate those thoughts. It's important to check those things. It's important because that is evidence of residue of your fiery furnace. That is evidence of residue of your fiery furnace, and that does not have to be your experience. One of the things that God was dealing with me on in this space, especially when it comes to holding a grudge, and how that looks. Because all of that plays into the replay of those conversations in your mind and in your head. It's important that we pray that all residue be removed. Anyway, I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to hop off here for today, but I want you guys to sit with that, chew on it, take it back to Father and see what that looks like in your own life. And you guys take what you need and you get on about your business. I'll see y'all soon.